Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Author Success Stories. I'm your host, Jyotsna Ramachandran, the founder of Happy Self Publishing. And today we have with us Candicee Childs. Candicee has been a phenomenal client of Happy Self Publishing, and I usually bring on our most successful authors onto this show because she is such an inspiration for me as well. So before I let Candice speak, let me just do a quick intro of her. She is currently a medical student attending the Medical College of Georgia. And she is passionate about sharing her story and, more importantly, wants to encourage anyone and everyone who is looking to the Lord as they travel down their own path in life. She is a Christian writer and a blogger, and she's also got two other degrees. She's got a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry with a minor in Spanish and a master's of healthcare administration degree from Georgia Southern University. Welcome to the show, Candice.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you on this show. How does it feel to be the best-selling author of this awesome book?
It's honestly, it's unreal. I never would have thought in a million years that I would not only publish a book, but then be on this status of bestseller. I think it's such an honor and it's such a privilege, and I definitely don't take it lightly. I'm very grateful for it. I know it
Right.
doesn't happen all the time with everyone, so I'm grateful. I'm humbled.
Yeah, I can just imagine how amazing you must be feeling right now, Candice. So, what I'm
Mhm.
curious to know is usually students in medical school are so busy with their studies and exams and all of that. And you are actually writing a book to help the pre med
Mhm.
students. So, how did that
Yes.
thought arrive in the first place?
Yeah, so I actually thought about it while I was applying the second time to medical school. And, I realized it just took so much out of me. It took
Hmm.
so much out of me, spiritually, mentally, physically. And I just said, if I could go back in time and do things differently, what would I have done? I was thinking about that sort of thing. I said, you know what? I can't go back in time. So
Hmm.
what I can do is I can, push through this, and then I can pretty much help someone else, because I think that's what life is all about, is using your hardships and your trials to learn from them, grow from them yourself, and then go back and help someone else. And I think that's something I wanted to do. So I said, if I'm gonna write this book, I should do it now while it's fresh, while it just happened. And I actually was applying to medical school. I had no idea when I would get accepted. And when I actually started the book, I didn't know how it was going to end. But, it just happened so that I was able to get in. And I said, I'm going to finish this book. I decided that since I had gotten into medical school, the first year was going to be busy. So I wouldn't have time to write it during school. So I waited till that summer after my first year to go ahead and finish it. And I set my heart and my goal to finish. And that's just what happened. So it was definitely a busy time, so I couldn't necessarily write much into it while I was in school, but I
Hmm.
wanted to use that advantage of my summer to go ahead and finish what I'd already started while I was in grad school. So,
That's fantastic. You know, what I really like about your story as to why you started this is this thing. You know, usually people feel that let me have 20 years of experience, let me become the number one expert in whatever I do before gaining that credibility to share their messages. But you did not even get that confirmation that you're into medical school. But because of the ups and downs in your journey of trying to get into med school, you just felt that you could help others with your experience. That is really commendable, Candice. So
thank you.
I think what I think everyone should learn from you is to just get started with whatever little success they've got, because through your experience, you would have definitely done a few things right and also made a lot of mistakes, and that can be so beneficial to people who could be reading your book, right?
Yes, definitely. I definitely would think so. Absolutely.
And what's even unique about your book? First of all, let's start with the name. Your book is called Lemons, Lemonade, and the Lemonade Stand. I have never come across such a quirky title for a book that's all about the serious stuff like medical school and spirituality and God. So, how did you come up with that title?
Yeah, so it's so funny. Since I'm from Savannah, Georgia, it's gets really hot, we should say, in the summertime, and something that I just love was lemonade. And
Mm.
one day I think I was thinking about lemonade. I don't know how I got to this, but I was like, it takes a process to create lemonade. You got to start with your lemons, and then, you add in your sugar, your water, all that stuff. And for some reason, when I was thinking about this process, I said, there's a quote that people say, it's like, when life, gives you lemons, make lemonade. I said, that's exactly what I had to do in med school. Like, I
Mm.
literally had to do that on my process of trying to apply to medical school. And so I said, you know what? This is different, but this might catch the eye of someone, the reader. And it just seems like such a great metaphor for what I was experiencing at the time, because I had already applied to medical school once. So that was a very sour moment. And then,
Yeah.
eventually I was able to get into medical school. That was sweet. So just being able to take those tests and trials and sour moments, still being reminded of those and using those to help improve my experience. And it was just more so just illustrating this process of what I had to go through. And then, of course, the lemonade stand, after it was all said and done, got into medical school, I wanted to
Mhm.
use my stance as a medical student to say, hey, I was able to make it, so you can too. And it was just such an interesting way that my mind was thinking at the time,
Right.
just seeing that process. So I thought it was creative. I thought it was quirky enough to grab the attention of someone, but I thought it was also so symbolic and such a great metaphor, that we could use. So I wanted to take it
Absolutely.
a step further. Yeah, I thought it was great.
So the minute you got this metaphor of comparing your journey with making lemonade, did you immediately come up with this title, or did you have multiple versions of this? Did you ask people around, or did you have that intuitive feeling that this is going to be right?
Yeah, I actually thought that this was going to be right. This was the first time. This was the first time that I'd actually thought about the title. So, it just kind of happened, and I just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah. See, throughout this conversation, I'm going to keep underlining all the lessons that I'm learning from you for the benefit of our viewers. Because one thing that I learned here is a lot of authors spend months in finalizing the title, because
Mm-hmm.
first they come up with a list of 10 ideas, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you ask people, they post on social media asking for people's votes and polls, which is
Mm-hmm.
all good, to gather some, votes on what is better. But I think finally you should just go with the one that you feel is right for the book, rather than just getting overly confused with all the different points of views, right, from other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the funny thing was, even with the title, I actually started off with an outline.
Hmm.
And that's how I was able to write the book. I kind of just saw it as a huge essay. And so I wrote this outline, I had the title, and then from there, that was it. That was it. And then I just kind of went with the title and ran off. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you also mentioned the outline. So, another mistake a lot of authors make is they just get started with the writing without having an outline. And your outline is so much in line with your title. You have those different parts of the book, right? About the
Yes.
different types of lemons that you had in your
Mm-hmm.
life, all the the downs, and then you had your process of making the lemonade. What did you add to it? And then finally
Mm-hmm.
helping others, which is putting out the lemonade stand. So how did that happen? Did you actually create a mind map, or how did that outlining process work for you?
Um, I mostly I just really just created an outline. Great. So yeah, once I had the title, I just kind of went with that, and that's how I was able to create my outline. So that's the way that I started. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And that was it. Yeah.
And what makes your book, again, very unique from all the other books for pre-medical students is that most books will give them strategies as to, how do you study and how do you get better grades and stuff like that. But yours
Mm-hmm.
takes a very different route. You go into the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual side of things, about how do you surrender to God and all of that, which is so
Mm-hmm.
different. And for a
Mm-hmm.
person who's so young like you, I feel that you've done a fantastic job. So how did you decide that this is the missing piece in the puzzle, and let me talk about this?
Yeah. So the thing is, when I had that time to really reflect on my process and what I'd gone through, I said, I wouldn't have been able to go through this without God. And I realized that there's so many sources out there where it talks about how to get into medical school, how to be the perfect applicant, how to do this, how to do that. I said, no, I don't really want to do that specifically because that's already out there. And I felt like what made my story so different is that I did involve the spiritual aspect of it, where I realized that I wouldn't have made it to where I was without the Lord in my life. And I wanted to use that opportunity to share that with other people. And so it was just something that was just unique to me, that was really personal to me. And I said, why not share this with other people and use this book as a way to really share that, hey, I know what it's like, because people, they tend to think that maybe the medical school process might be, easier for some, or this and that other. I think anybody who applies to medical school is going to go through something. And
Right.
I just kind of wanted to ask, like, I wanted to capture the spiritual, mental aspect of it, that it takes a lot out of you. So having your faith grounded in the Lord while you go through this is really, really pivotal to how you go about this process. It's pivotal to your mental health as well. And so for me, that's kind of the thought process that I had. And I
Right.
just wanted to be able to share that with everyone. So I knew it was going to be different. And I knew it was something that, when I was looking for resources of how to get through this process, I could never find anything like this. Something that was spiritual, that would say, hey, this is hard. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to happen, but you trust in God, it's going to work out. I couldn't find anything like that. So I created something instead.
Awesome. Another thing I noticed about your book is all the things that you're sharing can be applicable to anyone who's going through any downside in their life, not necessarily
Yes.
only a pre-med student, but you've
Yes.
actually done the smart task of saying that this could be a fantastic guide for pre-med students. So how did
Mm-hmm.
you get the courage to narrow down your target reader? Because it does take a lot of courage. Most authors say that, hey, my book is for everyone. Yes, it can
Mm-hmm.
be read by anyone, but you decided that let me specifically write to this one reader, but let others also read and benefit. That's absolutely okay. So, how did you
Yes.
narrow down and decide that let me really focus on only one segment of the readers?
Yeah. So the thing is, when I was thinking about this whole process, I said, yes, I could create a book that could be for everyone. But my specific experiences, what I was going through, I felt like a pre-med student would benefit from it the most. And I felt like they're the target population that people don't often think about, and when I realized that, I said, I want to create a book just for pre-med students. I've always enjoyed mentoring. I've done it for as long as I can remember, at almost every stage, undergrad, grad school, and now in med school, like still mentoring. I said, pre-med students, they go through a lot. And they're the one audience that maybe some people may not, really think about. So why not create something specifically for them to help them? Because that's something I know very well. That's something I just went through. And I was just thinking to myself, if I could just inspire one pre-med student to keep going, they
Right.
could be a great doctor of tomorrow. So I just wanted to give something back to an audience that I felt like was maybe forgotten about, or maybe not thought of as much. And when it came to this specifically, mostly with the spiritual aspect of it, there was nothing for, pre-med students in a spiritual aspect. So I thought that this would be perfect just for them.
Yeah, I think that itself makes the book so unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Absolutely.
I want to get some tips from you when it comes to the writing, because you are a super busy student. You juggle so many roles in your life, and
Yes.
you manage to write during the summer holidays, right? So do
Yes,
you
I did.
follow any routine, or what were some of the things that you did to ensure that you could finish writing the book?
Yeah. So, my biggest thing when it comes to writing a book is just start. That's the first step. Don't think too hard into it. Don't think that if I start, I have to finish right now. You don't absolutely have to do that. It's more so just about anything in life. When you want to do something, just get started. Find a way to get started. And for me, it was coming up with the idea that I want to write a book for pre-med students. And then what is the main point that I want to get across to whoever reads the book, but mostly the pre-med students. So once I figured out those basic things, then I said, let's go ahead and get an outline. So I started an outline. And I really just kind of talked my way through the book. It's really strange. I didn't just type it out. Sometimes I would just kind of just approach it as though I'm just talking to someone. And
Right.
then I would take what I said and say, okay, let me write this down because this will be a great chapter in the book. And I have to go back and revisit it. Sometimes I record myself, but anytime I came across something, I kind of talk it out as though I was talking to a person, and I would write it down. And so it's just, the biggest thing is just getting started. I think a lot of people either get afraid that, you know, maybe it's a dumb idea, maybe it's not the brightest idea, or maybe it won't do well. It's not about that. You know, it may not do well, but it's yours, and it's your craft, it's your project, it's your dream, your desire. So
Yeah,
go ahead and get started, and
absolutely.
then just go ahead from there and just keep adding on. And so I didn't have a schedule. I had a goal in mind of when I wanted to finish,
Mm-hmm.
which was this year in the fall. And then from there, I really just wrote whenever I could. And the outline is what really helped me, because once I had an outline, I knew the chapters and what in which I wanted to write. So
Yeah.
sometimes I would just come back and revisit, well, I did chapter 1 a week ago, let me work on chapter 2. And it just kind of worked that way, and it kept me organized to say, these are the ideas I want throughout the book. I may not necessarily write out all the paragraphs now, but it at least gave me an idea to think about, and then I would just fill it in essentially later. And that's how the book came about. I just filled in the outline,
Yeah.
and there it
As if you're
was.
talking to a person. I think that is the key here.
Yeah.
It's not as if you're writing, a piece of literature, but it was more of like a conversation you're having with the reader, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's literally the way I approached it. I said, you know, if I was having a conversation with the reader, even though they can't talk back to me, what would I say to them? What do I want to get across? And once I did that, I just ran with it. And I definitely believe that if I ever write another book, which I hope to do, that
Mm.
I'll use that same method to do it as well, because it worked so
Yeah.
well. It really did.
Yeah. How did you get this idea of adding some bonus chapters, like some prayers and some like a a journal kind of a thing? So how did you add all of this? Was that in your mind right at the beginning, or it was an afterthought?
It was really more so an afterthought. And it came a little later because once I started the outline, I said, well, maybe I can do this in two parts. The more I thought about it, and I said, I
Hmm.
want to get the reader more involved, because, you know, it's good to learn from someone else, to read a book and read their story. But I thought it would be interesting to have them think through
Hmm.
their, you know, their thoughts about, why do you want to be a doctor? What is your purpose? What do you like? You know, asking some of those questions that they might even get asked in an interview one day. And so I thought about it later on. But once I thought about it, I said, yeah, this is perfect, because is what's going to make it more personal for the reader to really figure out for themselves where they are and what they're trying to achieve. And so that came in. Then after that, I started writing some more. I said, well, you know, maybe I should include some prayers, you know, because maybe they are not sure what to pray about, or how
Yeah.
to pray about it. And I did it in different stages, for a pre-med student, a medical student, a
Hmm.
doctor, just so it's just like, well, take this with you as a pre-med, but even once you get there, keep praying. And that was a way
Yeah.
for me to say that. And then, you know, having that extra section where there was scriptures and quotes and things like that, I was driven by a lot of motivational quotes to keep going. And so I said, why not just include, you know, a list of quotes that a person can look to in some of their moments where they're sad, or maybe they're
Hmm.
angry. They can, you know, go to a source that has a lot of, you know, good motivational quotes. So all those things kind of came later once I got an idea of where I was going with it. But I said, wow, this will be a great addition. It's simple
Yeah.
and it's resourceful. So that's kind of how I went about that.
And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what makes the book so actionable, because I feel good books motivate their readers, but great
Mm-hmm.
books make them take action. So I think
Yeah.
you've done the second thing. So that's really good. So once you
Yeah.
finished writing all of this and you had the manuscript, then how did
Mm-hmm.
the process of publishing begin? How did you find Happy Self Publishing in the first place?
Woo, it took a lot of research. I mean, I didn't know who to ask, because there weren't a lot of people I knew who wrote books. So that I really just went on to Google, just like
Mhm.
anything else, and I just kept researching and researching. I found your website through there was a website on Google where it listed all of these companies and all the benefits of each company and what they had to offer. And once I kind of narrowed down and filtered what I was looking for in a company, or what I was looking for in general, that's when I found Happy Self Publishing. And so at first, though, before that, I had to figure out, what does it mean to publish? I had no idea what it was like. And then I realized you could go a traditional route and have a literary agent, or you can do self-publishing. And I said, well, if I'm going to try to do this myself and I want the rights to my book, I just want to kind of start off a little bit smaller, something I can manage. So that's why I decided self-publishing. And from there, that's when I tried to find resources and companies. And I called around, I emailed. I was more so looking for someone who was organized, who had good, testimonials, and just so many different things. And once I found your website, I love the website itself that you all have. It's organized. It piqued my interest. It had everything that I needed to know. And, I really just enjoyed the customer service. Once I reached out to you all, I mean, just meeting with you over Zoom and just being able to talk to you and really get an understanding of what you do, it really helped me. And it's so organized and it's so simple. So I think it took some time. I'd say I gave myself about a month to do some research. But once I, found you all, I said, well, I think they have exactly what I'm looking for, since I'm new at this and I know they'll be patient with me. And that's how I was able to decide on you all once I found you through Google searching.
I'm so glad you found us, because my team had a lot of fun working on your project, right from the cover design. It was so much fun, because the ideas that you shared was so nice, and we had lots of fun giving you different options, and then you would give your feedback to improvise all of that. So we thoroughly enjoyed the whole process of working with you, Candicee.
Thank you. I enjoyed working with you all as well. I mean, I think the biggest thing was, since I was new and I had to make changes, I had to go about things, just being able to talk to you all and say, hey, can you work with me? And you all were just so patient with me. And that's what I appreciate. There's so many things you don't know coming into this process. And so you all being patient with me was very, very appreciated. Very
Our
appreciated.
pleasure. And the other thing is, you did not just stop with publishing the book, because as a student, you could have just thought that, hey, this is just my summer project. But instead, you took it up so professionally. First of all, hats off to you for that professional photo shoot. So tell us all about that. It's not that nerdy college girl anymore. It's that glamorous side of you, like a professional. So you took the courage to do that. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I realized that if I'm gonna write a book and do this, I wanted to actually start something I plan on doing later on in life too. So I've always wanted to do like mentoring. I've always, just wanted to have something for myself. So I used this book to say, hey, let's go ahead and create a website. Maybe people might want to reach out to go to my website, be able to find me, get in touch with me if they ever needed advice. And I've actually had quite a few people, who've contacted me and requested prayers and things like that. But I also wanted to continue writing with blogs. So why not continue my love for writing and do that with my own website? So I just felt like this is something I want to keep up for a long time, something I'm actually really passionate about. And I figured this would be the best avenue for me to do this. And so and then I was just kind of raised in my household that when you do something, you go out with a bang, you give it your all.
Yeah.
And that was just a part of me giving it my all. And even the photo shoot, I mean, I had so much fun with that. A photographer, he was amazing, and I really enjoy his company and him working with him. So it was just saying to myself, when I look back at this process, I don't want to just say I wrote a book. I want to say I created a brand for myself to say, you all can contact me, and I'm doing this because I really am passionate about it, so I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to show that to the world.
And your website perfectly, represents your personal brand, because it's not just about the book. Yes, the book is on the forefront, it's the central part of it, but around the book you're doing so many other things like blogging, mentoring, and you've neatly laid it out on your website. I like to call this an author funnel because people probably know you through your book, but there is so much
Yes.
beyond the book. And because you're on such a big mission, your work doesn't stop with the book, right? And you want to do this for the long term. So I really, really appreciate you for doing that extra step of putting together the website.
Thank you. Thank you. I had fun. I had fun doing it.
So how does it feel now? How do your, your college mates, your fellow students, do they know that your book is out? What are they saying? How do they look at you
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, so the crazy thing is, it's been amazing. They've been so supportive, and a few of them have actually bought my book, read my book. They've gotten it for their siblings, and they've told me how great it was, and they're so impressed that I even had the time to do this. Like you said, I'm a medical student, and being a medical student, you're busy all the time, and I'm still quite busy, but I try to make time for the things that I really care about, and this is one of them. And I've just received a lot of compliments and admiration for just doing something like this that's time consuming, and I think they were more so surprised, but also they've just been so supportive and so
Yeah,
proud, and it's hard for me to really like talk about what people say about me, because it's like, wow, like that's so nice, but
yeah,
yeah, they really have been so supportive, and I couldn't ask for a better class, a better set of peers and colleagues.
yeah.
They've really enjoyed it, from what I understand. They really loved it, and it's just been great. They've been great.
That's awesome. So, what would be some of, or let me put it this way, what would be your one final piece of advice that you would like to give to the viewers of this show who are probably thinking of writing a book, but for some reason they're procrastinating? Why do you think someone should write a book?
That's a wonderful question, and I would tell someone that life is so short, and you have no idea what's going to happen. So why not leave your mark and your legacy on the world through your book? If this is something you're passionate about, whatever you're writing about, if it's something you're passionate about, if it's something that can make someone else's life better, why not do it? Instead of saying, why should I do it? Why shouldn't you do it? There's no reason why you shouldn't do it. So I would just say, understand that life is short. You don't know what's going to happen, but if you're passionate about something right now in this moment, you should do it. Put your whole heart into it. Share that passion with the world and leave your mark, because it's going to make someone else's life better, and it's going to do the world greatly that you did it. So just don't fear. Just go at it full force with everything you got.
Wow, very well said, Candicee. I'm so glad, I could get this opportunity to interview you because it's not just about helping you with the publishing. It's so much more, right? About why are you doing this and how is your book making that big impact? And I really wanted to bring all that out through this interview. And you've done a fantastic job of sharing all of this so authentically with us. So I'm going to leave the link to your books page on Amazon as well as your website
Okay.
right below this video. So I
Okay.
just request all the viewers to go check out all the amazing things that Candicee is doing, and please support her by buying her book and checking out all the nice things that she's doing. Thank you so much, Candicee.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you all today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.